Hey folks, Ryan Walker, Ozark Smallmouth Alliance, Ozark Smallmouth Flyco, and I'm going to do another tying video and put it up on YouTube. Anyway, I was asked, I put this fly up online last night and had a couple people ask me about videos for it. And really what this is just a Lafkas inspired Brushead deceiver-ish. But the color combo and the body and the profile of this thing has been, it's been money all post spawn. And these fish have gotten into kind of a weird funk where they really don't want to chase real hard yet. That's going to change. Water's getting warmer. We got this big heat streak. And now we're going to get the water up, mid 70s now. It'll be 80 before too long in the river. And that'll probably change their attitude a little bit. But right now, and for the past few weeks, they have just sort of wanted the fly there. But there meant there had to be a little bit of movement with it. And this thing has just a ton of movement. And I don't know Alex Lafkas. I know he's a very good guide and a very good tire. I fished these in a smaller size and in a little different, his original configuration in the summer when they're chasing smaller bait fish. But this sucker color, brown, yellow, and if you can throw some orange in there, has really been money. And I know where the inspiration for this fly came. You look at the bulkhead deceiver. The brushhead is a lot easier to tie for most people than the bulkhead is, but the inspiration's the same. Lots of movement, lots of fluidity, and lots of deer hair that bulks up when it gets wet and is underwater and in rest. When it's being pulled, it slims down. When it stops, it blows up and gets a lot of profiles. So, and it probably also came from a bulkhead or a Buford style fly, which again, using that brush in the front was a stroke of genius. Just much easier to tie than trimming a bunch of deer hair. The commercially made brush heads are pretty uniform, and there's not a lot of trimming to be done unless you want to do it. You don't really have to trim them a lot. But I'm going to run through a little materials list, and then we'll get started. Be right back. All right, here we go with the materials list for the Lafkas-inspired Brushead Deceiver-ish. Dude right there. Been a monster. Start out with our hooks from the rear. We're going to use a B10S size 2. Front hook. On this one, I'm going to use a Arex PR320. It's their stinger hook. I love this hook because it has an upturned point and a longer shank. I can get all my materials on it. I like that upturned point because these fish tend to attack this fly head first, and you seem to get a really good strip set ratio, hookup ratio when I'm using that. So that's an Arex PR320 stinger. For my saddle at the back, I'm doing red horse sucker on this one, so I'm going to use a orange over badger. That's an American saddle from Hoffman. My body filler, I'm going to use UV polar chenille, and this is an olive copper UV. I like this stuff because it has really good body. It's fluid. It's got really good flash characteristics. Depending on what you're trying to achieve with the body, whether you want bulk or flash. If I just want flash and not as much bulk, I'll use Palmer chenille. If I want both flash and more bulk, I'll use like Chocolate's body chenille or body filler or body flash, whichever one of those you want to use. But on this one, I'm really looking for more of a color match and subtle flash, so I'll use the polar chenille. My bucktail, I've got to have 2 colors, one for a back and one for a belly. I'm going to use a yellow on the belly, and on this one, I'm going to use a mahogany. I've been using kind of a camel tan, but I'm going to change to kind of this mahogany red and my bright yellow, which I really, really like. That color scheme has been a monster this spring so far. For our flash, which I won't have much of in this fly because I've got the polar chenille in there, I'm going to use the Ripple Ice fibers. If you haven't worked with these, they're a lot of fun to work with. They've got really good movement, really good flash characteristics in the water, easy to work with as well. And at the very front of the fly, we've got our brush, obviously, hence the name. And we're going to use an EP. This is a minnow head brush I think it's a 1.5 or 1 inch minnow head brush. This is in bronze. And I know, shocker, right? And I'll use it in tan. I'll use it in dark brown. But for this application, I'm going to use it in the bronze color. So there we go. That's our materials list. Let's get tying. All right, so the first step in this fly is to put a rudder on it. And for that, we're going to use these American saddles. And I'm going to put 2 feathers on each side just for a little stiffness, a little rigidity. And I'll start on your side of the camera here. So it's probably hard to see because, again, I'm not a videographer and I don't have all this fancy equipment. But I've gone back to the bend and then back forward 3 wraps and put just a little bump right there. And I'm just going to lay these a la yard sale right on top of the shank of the hook. Sorry about the fingers. I'm going to come to my side, marry those up. Again, just right on top of the hook shank. Bury those down there just a little bit. Get some, sure we've got them good and secure. There, good rudder. Good solid foundation for that tail to move. Get rid of those. One thing you can do, if you want, just put a dot of super glue. It'll give you just a little bit of extra stability, but like I said, I found most of the time these fish will attack this fly from the head, which is what you want them to do. You want them to eat it, try to kill it. All right, next shot here is our UV polar chenille. Just pull off what you need. I always pull off enough to do the whole fly. And to waste some too, as usual. So this stuff's got a grain to it. And you kind of want to find the grain. And this one's going kind of down, you can see. You're lashed in there, and then take it to, I don't know, 2 eye widths back. And then we're just going to palmer it forward. Grab those fibers and move them backwards, stroke them back so you can get some fullness out of it, get some body. You can take your pick or your comb or your bodkin or whatever you use later and after we tie this down, and firm those up, fluff them up just a little bit. So now I'm going to sweep back, wrap back on that just a little bit. I don't really need to do anything to that. I got quite a bit of it out. I may try to pull some of these extra fibers out here. You don't have this. You need it. The EP finger brush. It's pretty cool. Thanks, Mick Spalding. All right. Now we're going to put our bucktail, our first set of bucktail on the back. And you don't have to make the rear end of this hook quite as bushy as you're going to make the front. Although I always like a little more. I mean, too much bucktail is never enough, right? Especially if it's good bucktail. And then with any fly, any bait fish pattern or any small fish pattern, we're looking for taper. So we'll put this first clump of bucktail on with taper in mind. That looks pretty good. And we're going to reverse tie all of these. Some guys will put it in a hair stacker and stack it up, and I don't worry about that with bucktail. If you get good bucktail, you don't have to worry too much about it. Lay it right on top, twist up a rope, bring it over, and you want to make sure this is all right on top. Go. Now, grab that. I'm going to push it flat just one time just to make sure it's spread out even like that. And then you can reef on it a little bit. I'm not using GSP here. I'm using just Ultra Thread 140. I don't really want to flare this hair that much, so I'm not using anything real aggressive. Now, here's a little trick most of you probably already know. When you're going to sweep that back, if you're not using GSP where you can reef on it, super glue the bottom side. And that'll, once it dries, that'll keep that from spinning. Now we're going to take our belly color, which is yellow. If I'm ever going to or if I'm ever going to use too much of one color, it's always going to be the lighter of the two colors, for me anyway. Get all that short hair out of there. Still a bunch of short hairs in there. I don't really want all those if I don't have to. There we go. One more. And again, we're going to be reverse tying these, so we're putting everything forward. And just repeat the process with the yellow that you did with the red. A couple of wraps on it. Pinch it a little flat just to kind of even the hair out. Then you can reef on it a little bit to get it where you want it. Now we're going to take our very expensive Marionville Pharmacy hair push tool. Can't get these just anywhere. And I'm a little more careful here, even though it's the back of the fly. I'm kind of weird about the way those noses look when you get them done. Good time to kind of look everything over and make sure it's even-ish. Two, tighten, two, tighten, two, tighten. And whip finish, you can trim some of those hairs out. All right, I'm going to put some UV on this, and I'll be right back, and we'll do the front. Okay, I went ahead and taken the opportunity here to join the rear to the front hook. It's not something you guys probably don't already know and just waste a lot of valuable data space. So the front of the fly with two notable exceptions or three notable exceptions is the same as the back of the fly. So all I'm going to do in this half of the video is I'm going to point out those exceptions. Basically, it's reverse tied bucktail, polar chenille, reverse tied bucktail with the flash on it, and then the brush head, which is why I've left all this space up here at the front of the hook. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I do this reverse tie on the back, and then I'm just going to blow through the rest of it to get to the front, and where I need to point out differences, that's where I'll slow it down and get to hear my lovely voice again. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put reverse tied bucktail here on the back to shroud this back. And I'm going to just use the same bucktail that I used up front. So all I'm going to do is reverse tie this back here, minding your taper. So you'll see what I'm doing as I'm doing it to get that taper. So here we go. Okay, now we're at a point where we're going to put some flash on the front of this thing. And we're going to use this Ripple Ice stuff. Love it. A lot of fun to play with. And I've got quite a bit of flash in it with the, with the polar chenille. But I'm going to lay some kind of down the back and spread it around to the sides. And so Ripple Ice is kind of an elongated fiber. You don't need a ton of it unless you just want to use it. You need a lot of flash. But I'm just going to take a little bit about like that. Pull anything out that wants to fall out. Just going to lay it on top. Press my finger on it to kind of spread it a little more around. And then we'll fold that back. We'll fold that back when we reverse tie this. So now we're going to reverse tie this, and then we'll pick up from there and finish the fly off. Okay, last real step in this fly is to put this minnow head brush on. And you've noticed I've left quite a bit there. I don't worry about, I'm not going to put it actually on the fold right there. I'm going to take another wrap and then throw a dam right in front of that. And you can put some UV on there if you want to. That will help hold that in place. So let's do that real quick. Okay, we got our UV on there. Now it's time to finish this dude off with this brush. And I'd like to get 4 or 5 turns of this stuff on the front just to give it a good, nice, bulky head. Like I showed you before, kind of mimicking that dude right there, but a little bit easier than doing all the trimming you've got to do there on that bucktail. So obviously this stuff's all spun up on a wire. I'm going to expose some of that wire. I'm going to come in kind of over the top and at an angle, wrap back. I'm going to fold that wire up, wrap over it, and then wrap to the eye. Now we can start palmering this stuff forward. So we're just going to sweep back, double it up, in other words, make a wrap, lay them in there tight, sweep them back with your fingers, and you can brush all this out. Every time I get up here, I'm going to tug on it just a little bit. I'm right there. I'm going to take my brush, brush it out and see how I'm looking. Looking good. I should be able to get one more turn on there and still have a clean eye. And you can take something and poke it back if you want. Just slide it back just to get one more. I may only get a half turn on it, but pull that tight. Open it up so you've got somewhere to get your thread in there. Get it captured with a couple of wraps. Take your dikes or your buddy's scissors. Cut that off. Now you want to find that end and poke it back. That wire end and poke it back. And then you can build your head up. And I didn't twist my thread. I sort of flattened it out a little bit. And we'll whip finish. clip that close. Take our brush her out. This is a nice time to have like a fiber burner or a wing burner or something that you can heat up and get rid of some of those extra. I got pretty lucky here. I don't have a lot of slop in front of it. Now all we'll do is get us some UV. Then on there, get it all around. Voila. There we go. You can see the taper I was talking about. There we go. Brushead deceiver-ish a la Lafkas. Fly's been a monster, man. I'm telling you. All right, hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to take a flyover of the fly so you can kind of see it from all angles. And I'll put that at the end of this video. But thank you for your time. Sorry it's so long. I'm not gonna speed it up and do. I mean, somebody on the internet named Brian Wise is already doing a really good job at his videos, and I don't want to try to be like him because I never will be. He's much more prepared and much better videographer than I. It's also a hell of a good tire. So we are going to leave that be and fish it. So anyway, Ryan Walker, Ozark Smallmouth Fly Co., Ozark Smallmouth Alliance. Thank you very much. Free the fighter.